Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So on this quick take, we've got Goldberry River Daughter, and my goodness, this is a unique commander that, well, I don't think your opponent's going to know what direction that you are taking it, because you can do a lot of crazy things with Goldberry, a 1/3 nymph that costs 1 in a blue that has tap, move a counter of each kind, not on Goldberry River Daughter, from another target permanent you control onto Goldberry. And also pay a blue, tap, move 1 or more counters from Goldberry onto another target permanent you control. If you do, draw a card. Yeah, this is a very unique kind of like counter swapping commander. One that can say, hey, I'll take whatever counters you got. They're going on to me as long as I don't have those kinds of counters. And then, yeah, I can also distribute counters too. So being able to essentially take counters off can be huge. And yeah, there's also a lot of good implications for putting counters onto something as well. And again, it does say 1 or more, so you can choose exactly what kinds of counters you want to move off and what kinds of counters you want to stay, which is crucial because, well, there's a lot of different exciting things that you can do with that, and ways that you can protect Goldberry, ways that you can make other things very, very, very impactful. And of course, yeah, as always with Wizards lately, it seems like they're just slapping draw a card onto everything. So again, you get to draw a card with that too. Some extra card advantage there is quite nice. And of course, since these are tap abilities, they can easily be used and abused with untap effects, and there are tons of those in blue. That being said, obviously that second ability does require a single mana to activate. Yeah, that's not a lot at all, but yeah, you can really take advantage of that first one. And we'll talk about some ways that, well, you really want to kind of play with. Ways that might be unexpected. Ways that, well, I mean, removing counters sometimes is a lot more effective than putting counters on things even. So yeah, with this episode, I'm going to be going through some budget buys. As always, cards that are less than $1 that work very well with this, and then cards that are above $1, cards that are in the pricier picks that might be within your budget to consider. And yeah, there's some kind of broken directions you can take this commander, and we'll get to some of those kind of in the budget buys and also in the pricier picks as well. Regardless, all these cards are in a card list link in the description below. If you are interested in this unique commander, make sure you check that link out. Now, with all that said, though, let's move on to those budget buys to help illustrate some of the kind of weird and interesting things that Goldberry can do. So we're going to start things off with the Mirari Conjecture. Yeah, that's right, Sagas. Sagas work incredibly well with this new commander, and I guess I am saying commander, but obviously Goldberry can fit very well into the 99 of a Saga tribal deck, or in different kinds of decks as well. Regardless, the Mirari Conjecture is a great example of just how powerful this can be. First, lore counter, return target instant card from your graveyard to your hand. Second one, return target sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. And the third one, until end of turn, whenever you cast an sorcery spell, copy it, choose targets for the copy. Now, if you are going to be utilizing these Sagas, because, well, just to remember that if you get that third lore counter on this, after that last lore counter on Saga is put onto it, it is sacrificed. So you're going to want to remove those counters beforehand. And by removing, to get back to that, say, you know, second counter coming again, you can do some pretty crazy things with this, returning a sorcery back to your hand again and again and again. And the same can be said for an instant as well. But yeah, that second one, we'll talk about a card in the pricier picks that makes this quite easy to go infinite with, you know, this, that card, and maybe just one other thing. Very easy to use and abuse with Goldberry. And again, keep in mind that with Goldberry, once you get that Saga counter on Goldberry, it does absolutely nothing, obviously, right? Or should I say a lore counter on Goldberry. A lore counter will do nothing for Goldberry. That being said, you can take that lore counter off of Goldberry with that other activation, put it on, say, another Saga to get, you know, another trigger from that one, or just put it on something that you don't care about. Put it on a land. It doesn't matter, just so you can ditch it, so you can then remove more lore counters from Sagas. So keep that in mind. Moving on, the Phasing of Zhalfir, another one, and this one can be pretty brutal. I absolutely love this. So another target non-land permanent non-land permanent phases out. We got there. It can't phase in for as long as you control the Phasing of Zhalfir. So essentially with these, again, first and second, you can keep using and abusing this again and again and again, phasing out more and more and more permanents, and this can just stay in play. Again, by just removing those Saga counters from this, Saga counters, I keep saying that. Lore counters, it's been a long day. Lore counters onto Goldberry, then moving them from Goldberry onto anything else, cool. You can just keep doing this again and again and again. You do need at least one untap effect to ensure that, you know, this doesn't kind of outpace your commander, But still, that third one is quite nice too. Destroy all creatures for each creature thrown this way. And controller gets a 2/2 black Phyrexian creature token. Cool. You can also, avoid that if you really don't want to. If you want to kind of keep removing those counters and avoid it for a while, you can. Moving on, another kind of card that definitely came to my mind when I saw this commander is Crystalline Giant. This one is all about counters. At the beginning of combat, your turn, choose a kind of counter at random that this one doesn't have on it from flying. First strike, death touch, hexproof, lifelink, menace, reach, trample, vigilance, and +1/+1. Put a counter of that kind on this card. Basically, hey, this is just a glut of different kinds of counters. You can get those counters from this onto your commander. The big one that you would love to get on your commander and just keep it there is hexproof. And again, with Goldberry, you do not have to distribute all the counters on Goldberry. You can say, it says one or more, so you can keep as many as you want, and you're definitely going to want to keep that hexproof on your commander to protect it. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't have indestructible as well. That would have been quite nice. That's okay still, that's fine. Moving on, River Kelpie. Now this one you want to do it in a different way. River Kelpie is a 3/3 beast. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield from a graveyard, draw a card. Whenever a player casts a spell from a graveyard, draw a card. It also has persist, so it's going to be entering from the graveyard. When it dies, comes back with a -1/-1 counter on it. And yeah, you can very easily use and abuse this by removing that counter from it. Goldberry, of course, can do that. Now you might want to take that -1/-1 counter and give it to something else. Maybe like Drolf's Mind Crusher. This is kind of like a nice little, not mini combo, I guess I would say, but basically a way to really play with Persist and Undying. They work perfectly with this commander because this says when it enters the battlefield, target player mills 5 cards, and it's got Undying. So again, when it dies, kind of like Persist, but the exact opposite, this one gets a +1/+1 counter on it. So essentially, you can cancel out those counters. And yes, rules layers out there, please confirm in the comments below, because I keep getting comments every now and then that says, oh, -1/-1 counters don't get canceled out by +1/+1 counters. They do. There is a rule out there that got changed. I know in my childhood when I was playing, that was not the rule, but they changed that at a certain point just to make it easier. So now they cancel out. So therefore, if you put a -1/-1 counter on a creature that has a +1/+1 counter, they both go away, which is absolutely lovely. And even if not, even if you're just working with this Undying creature and your commander, still get that -1/-1 counter off of it and get this onto your commander instead. So there you go. It can die again. Obviously, there's some infinite combos that can work with this as well. If you've got a free sacrifice outlet, if you got something like, say, Intruder Alarm, yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of ways that you can go about that. Next up, I did mention indestructible counter. Myojin Cryptic Dreams is one of the very few creatures that has indestructibility counters in mono blue. A 3/3 spirit for 8 mana enters the battlefield with indestructible counter on if you cast from your hand. Remove a counter from it, then indestructible counter. Copy target permanent spell you control 3 times. A very powerful and even broken effect in certain circumstances. But with this, that's not really the direction you might be going. With this, you might be like, oh, I'd rather just protect my commander. And again, with this too, keep in mind, yeah, you're in blue. You've got plenty of ways to proliferate, plenty of ways to get more counters on things that you want counters on. So do that. Get more indestructibility counters on this. Do some pretty crazy things with it, and also share one of those with your commander to protect it. Moving on, though, let's talk about some untap effects and some fantastic ones. Strategic Aura Helm is a great repeatable one that can help you use both aspects of your commander. Again, the ability to remove and the ability to give. Landfall, whenever a land is battlefield under control, choose 1, tap or untap target creature, scry 1. So yeah, just simply play a land, or Kraken Evolving Wilds. Untap your commander so you can use that ability again, or should I say, yeah, either use the first ability again or use the first ability and then the second ability, whatever you need to do. Again, a simple untap effect like this can help you keep on top of those sagas to ensure that the lore counters don't get to a point that you want. You can keep those lore counters and those sagas going and basically keep the sagas in there perpetually for perpetual value. Moving on, Vizier of Tumbling Sands. There are tons of these untap effects. Vizier of Tumbling Sands has tap, untapping, no target permanent. We just got another one in this set, a legendary creature that does this as well, and then some. And on top of that, you could cycle this away to untap something if you really want to. But yeah, a repeatable untap effect like this one is huge, and actually kind of a component to some of our more broken things that we can do with this commander. Again, ensuring we can use both aspects of the commander, the give and the take. Moving on, Chalk and Retriever. This is one of my favorite cards of all time. I absolutely love it. I think it is so underrated. Whenever you cast a spell during your turn, untap target creature. That is massive. That is huge. That is so underrated. Just essentially with a commander like this that has a tap effect, yeah, you're going to be casting spells. Now, every single spell essentially comes with an untap effect for you. As long as you're doing that during your turn, great. Tap your commander, utilize that ability, get a counter off, like a lore counter onto it, then utilize the other ability. It's absolutely perfect for this kind of a commander. I love this card. And then finally, in the budget buys, just say Heart of Oceans. a commander that I kind of mentioned earlier that is somewhat similar, but not really in some ways. This one has a lot less flexibility. 4/4 Flying Spirit. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice it unless you remove a counter from a permanent you control. So again, something that sometimes would be considered like a downside, obviously, with those +1 counters and stuff like that. Getting those is not a great thing to lose unless it's on an undying creature. Yeah, there's some great things that you can do with this again, like, removing lore counters from your sagas. So obviously this would also work well in a deck built around Goldberry, but of course Goldberry has more flexibility, has more potential in my opinion, and has different kinds of things that it can do. But one thing that they both can do, moving on to the pricier picks, we will talk about right here and now with a pretty expensive card and one that is very, very potent. Time Warp. Yeah, infinite extra turns is pretty doable with this kind of a commander. Again, the very first card that I brought up on this episode outside of the commander is the Mirari Conjecture. Being able to get a sorcery back again and again and again. Essentially, all you need is a simple untap effect that is repeatable like Vizier of Tumbling Sands. You need your commander, you need Mirari Conjecture, and you need this. And you can just keep getting this back again and again and again, taking all the extra turns, and your opponents, well, lose. I mean, they don't technically just lose from that, but you got plenty of ways to win from there, right? If you can take all the extra turns, I would hope you could find a way to win. And of course, there's other extra turn spells like this one. Keep in mind, for it to actually go infinite, you would need, ones that don't actually exile after you cast them. So keep that in mind. Next up, Jin-Gitaxias. And there's a reason I'm bringing this one up. Now, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, mana value 3 or greater, great, you get to draw a card. Cool. On top of that, you can transform it only if you have 7 or more cards in your hand. When you do that, it flips over to, well, a massive saga. The Great Synthesis. Draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand. You have no maximum hand size for as long as you control this. Okay, if you can keep getting that again and again and again, you're essentially doubling your hand size every single time you get that lore counter. Again, double, quadruple, every single time. It's absolutely absurd. The second lore counter is also amazing. Return all non-Phyrexian creatures to the owner's hands. You can have a repeatable board wipe as well. Now, obviously, you would need a way to get your commander back into play to, be able to tap it right away with some haste as well. Yeah, there's definitely some other conditions to that too, or just, yeah, if you can turn your commander to a Phyrexian too, lovely, that works. So yeah, like Maskwood Nexus, that could work as well. And also that third lore counter, you're not gonna be able to get this again and again and again because it will exile and come back on the battlefield face up, but still casting another spells in your hand without paying the mana cost, that is pretty gross. Speaking of gross, Curabest the Sea God, another great massive saga. Number 1, create a 8/8 blue Kraken creature token with hexproof. That's huge. You get that again and again and again. You keep making a massive army. The second one, tap all non-land permanents target opponent controls. They don't untap their controller's next untap step. This is brutal, especially again if you can get it again and again and again. My goodness, being able to say, yeah, your stuff's tapped down. Let's tap that down again. Yeah, let's just tap it down again and again. Oh, you just keep playing some things and they're just going to get tapped and you can't untap anything else. You can just shut down, one or maybe even multiple players with this once you get things going and once you get set up with your commander properly. Next up, Glen Elendra Archmage. A 2/2 flyer. Pay a blue, sacrifice it, counter target non-creature spell. It's got persist. So again, a persist creature like this you can really use and abuse, especially one that has a powerful effect like this, because you can keep removing that counter to ensure that, well, this is going to be fine. This keeps coming back into play. This is going to be utilized as a basically not free, but 1 mana counter spell again and again and again. Next up, when it comes to value, Tekkathal Inquiry Dominus can help you out a ton. If you would proliferate twice instead. That already is huge. Again, there are certain kinds of counters that you really care about getting. I mean, there's certain ones that you can really utilize with this kind of a commander. Again, +1 counters, you can get a ton of them out there. And then also kind of with this, hey, pay 1 Phyrexian Blue, remove 3 counters from among artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers you control, which again is something you might want to do. Put an indestructible counter on Tekkathal Inquiry Dominus. And again, that indestructible counter, of course, if you proliferate it, you get more of them, and you can share one of those with your commander to protect it. Moving on, Dark Depths is probably the first cards that came to my mind about this commander. This one will take you a little while still to actually get everything off of it, but yeah, enters the battlefield with 10 ice counters on it, pay 3, remove an ice counter from it. And then when it has none, you get a 20/20 black avatar creature token, flying, token with flying and indestructible. Yeah, this can be a massive effect. It will take you a while. Still, there are some combos that you can utilize with it. But still, yeah, I mean, it is just a land to throw in the deck. It doesn't tap for any mana. Moving on, yeah, there's a lot of great untap effects in the price your picks as well. I mean, a Fetto Alchemist is a great one. Tap, untap, target artifact or creature. Very low to the ground, only costing 2 mana. Great to untap mana rocks, or yes, creatures like your commander. But when it comes to untap effects, mind over matter. A grossly good card. This goes infinite with a couple things. It does not go infinite with your commander, but kind of, but not quite, but kind of, but not really. Mind Over Matter is an enchantment for 6 mana in total. Choose and discard a card, tap or untap target artifact, creature, or land. So, being able to, again, draw a card when you move one or more counters from Goldberry onto something else, you draw a card. Cool. Utilize that to discard, untap. You can keep doing that again and again and again with a lot of counters on Goldberry, moving them off. Again, you're limited based on your mana, but still, this can really, really, really help you make the most out of your commander and utilize both of its abilities essentially in the same turn very, very, very easily. And yeah, if you've got other cards in the deck like Arcanist and Nipton, yeah, you go infinite with that. And then finally, again, I brought this Synthought Reflection up on a ton of episodes because Wizard just keeps throwing on draw a card onto a lot of commanders because they're like, well, look, commander players like drawing cards, cool. It's very Aegis Insight, legendary enchantment for 4 mana. If you draw a card, except the first one you draw, and each draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. So again, doubles up your commander's draw, which, yeah, I mean, working with Mind Over Matter can be incredible. But yeah, just overall, double up your card draw, a great thing. Yes, this, again, is a very interesting commander, one that I did not expect to see, one that you kind of really have to think about, okay, like, how can you really apply this? How can we do something interesting with this? Sure, you can just do, you know, basic, you know, some counter shenanigans, you know, +1 counter is cool, -1 counter is cool, but more so, hey, let's actually just utilize sagas in a very gross way. Let's take some counters from me, let's move them on other things, let's proliferate, let's do some crazy things. There's a lot of potential with this kind of one. I'm really excited to see what kinds of, you know, decks people build around it. So yeah, Goldberry I think is a very interesting one. If you are excited about it, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. And of course, make sure you're staying tuned to this channel for even more exciting quick takes and spoilers coming up. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. So let me know what your thoughts are on it in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.